Hello. Tonight, you're standing beneath a sky so thick with stars, it feels like the heavens have cracked open just for you. The air smells of pine, cold stone, and something older, something like bone dust, stirred by time. You shouldn't be here. Not really. But that's kind of the fun, isn't it? Besides, if stories of Norse gods have taught us anything, it's that survival is negotiable, and fate is a little bit rude. So before you relax, consider liking and subscribing, but only if you truly enjoy what I do here. And while you're at it, drop your location and local time in the comments. I always wonder who else is awake during these odd hours. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background noise. And let's slowly begin tonight's voyage. You kneel at the base of Yggdrasil, the world tree, the spine of the 9 realms. Its roots stretch impossibly deep. Some say down to the beginning of all stories. Others say straight into the mouth of a dragon named Níðhöggr, who chews at reality like it's a stale biscuit. But that's not your concern yet. The moss under your hands glows faintly, pulsing in rhythm with your breath. Something ancient stirs beneath you. This isn't metaphor. The roots shift, parting just wide enough for you to slip through. You descend into darkness. Not the absence of light kind, but the thick, velvety dark that smells like rain on ash and sounds like an old memory humming a lullaby. You reach out, and the bark of the world tree brushes your fingers rough, warm, and inexplicably alive. A widely accepted historical fact. Yggdrasil was believed to connect all things, a cosmological pillar linking the divine, mortal, and infernal. Its roots fed 3 sacred wells, each tied to a fundamental force: wisdom, fate, and primal law. You feel all 3 pressing against your chest as you move downward, gravity loosening its grip. And then you land not hard, more like you're placed down carefully by a very large, very polite squirrel, which, now that you think of it, isn't far. The Norse believed Níðhöggr, a squirrel, ran up and down Yggdrasil, delivering messages and insults between an eagle in the branches and Níðhöggr below. Classic rodent behavior. You're in a cavern now, vast, breathless. There are runes on the walls that twitch when you look at them too long. Water drips somewhere in the dark, and the ground is warm, wrongly warm, like standing over a buried engine. Then you hear it, a heartbeat, not yours, not nearby, below. You're standing above something, something sleeping, or pretending to, and before you ask, yes, it's probably watching you. Scholars still debate whether Yggdrasil is purely mythological or a misunderstood metaphor for ancient memory structures, mental maps to encode cosmology before written language. But standing here, you suspect it's both. A tree, a system, a gate. You kneel again, press your palm to the stone, and whisper a name that came to you in a dream you didn't remember until just now: Urdr. The wall ahead glows with a deep blue runa, name you didn't say out loud, and the cavern opens. Not physically. It's more like your mind steps sideways. You now see a child, or an old woman, or a wolf with 2 many eyes. It shifts every time you try to hold its shape. It speaks your earlier. That's not encouraging. What do you seek? The voice asks. You consider lying, but this place has no patience for half-truths. So you answer, balance, and ... something I lost. The being, whatever it is, tilts its head. You feel yourself being weighed like a handful of iron in someone's palm. You'll find it, it says, but not before you lose something more. Classic mythological trade deal. Then it gestures, and one of the roots twitches, revealing a path carved of lightless stone. This way, the voice murmurs. You glance back, half expecting the mossy portal to be gone, and, of course it is, because going back is never part of these stories. You step forward, into the root path that smells like burning honey and old snow, your pulse sinking with the distant heartbeat below. Whatever lies ahead, it began before gods knew their names, and now, It's waiting for yours. The root path narrows, forcing you to duck slightly as slick bark brushes your shoulders. Warm and wet, like something freshly unwrapped. With each step, your thoughts feel less like your own memories rearranged, dreams resurfaced, names you've never heard slipping into your mind like returning guests out at the end of the tunnel. A faint red glow flickers, illuminating a chamber hollowed out of fossilized bone. At the center floats a small, sealed flask made of hammered gold and ancient glass. Its contents swirl unnaturally red gold, ink black, moving like something alive. You've found it, the mead of poetry, a widely accepted historical fact. In Norse myth, the mead of poetry was brewed from the blood of the wise being, Kvasir, and held the power to grant divine inspiration. Odin, of course, stole it, because that's kind of his thing. The air shifts, and your ears pop. You're not alone. There's someone sitting cross-legged beside the flask. A woman or someone who wears the shape of one. She doesn't look at you, just taps her fingernails on the ground in a rhythm too perfect to be casual. You smell like moss and uncertainty, she says. You'll fit right in. You raise an eyebrow. Are you guarding the mead? Am I? She says with a smirk. Or are you dreaming me because you don't trust what's coming? You open your mouth, then close it. She chuckles and waves her hand. Fine, let's pretend I'm real. The mead is not for drinking. Not yet. I thought it gave you insight. Oh, it does, she says. But insight is a mirror, and most people aren't ready to see what's behind them. The flask begins to hum softly, and with it, your head starts to ache. Words flood your mind, verses, names, warnings. The chamber spins, then comes the pain, sudden and sharp, like cold metal pushed between your thoughts. Images flash, Odin hanging from Yggdrasil for 9 nights, sacrificing himself to himself for wisdom. Kvasir's blood bubbling in a cauldron, a raven flying backward through time. Your own face reflected in a pool of fire. You stumble backward. The woman catches you before you fall. Unusual fact. Some runic scholars believe the mead myth may encode actual Proto-Germanic rituals of trance and memory, early initiations disguised as divine tales. You blink, and the chamber is empty. No woman, no flask, just a single rune scorched into the ground at your feet. It rides as you look at it, almost embarrassed to be seen. You recognize the shape, the rune for memory. Scholars still debate whether Odin's pursuit of wisdom was a divine metaphor or a warning against obsessive knowledge. Standing here, your head still echoing with half-songs and broken verses. You lean toward the latter. The stone beneath your feet pulses. A passage opens on the far wall, arched and cracked, like a forgotten mouth. You walk through. You emerge into a long corridor lined with masks, hundreds of them. Some carved from ivory, others woven from hair and ash. One you're pretty sure is made from teeth. They hang without pattern or reason, yet each one seems to turn toward you slightly as you pass. You stop in front of one. It's smooth, pale, grinning. The moment you touch it, your mind fractures again, not painfully this time, but like sliding into a warm bath of someone else's thoughts. The mask whispers, "Loki remembers you." Which is odd, because you've never met. You carry the memory with you as you leave the corridor, one step deeper into whatever this is. The mead still sings faintly in your blood, not a song you recognize, but one that already knows your name. The tunnel exhales behind you, as if the very walls are relieved to see you go. Ahead, flickering torchlight dances along stone walls, etched with stories you don't understand. Some appear upside down, others vanish when stared at too long. It's like walking through a library that resents being read. Your fingers brush against cold iron. The passage ends at a shallow alcove, where a single mask rests on a pedestal. Smooth bone, obsidian eyes, silver mouth. You hesitate. The mask looks familiar, but not in the "I've seen this in a book" kind of way. More like, This has stared at me in dreams I don't remember having. And then it speaks. Finally, it whispers. I was starting to think you'd gotten lost. You flinch. The mask didn't move, and its voice didn't pass through the air. It slid straight into your head like a thought that never belonged to you. That voice is unmistakable. Loki. You've heard tales. Everyone has. The trickster god, the shapeshifter, the silver-tongued problem in leather boots. A widely accepted historical fact. Loki is not technically a god, he's a Jitner, or giant. Though he lived among the Aesir, and caused nearly as much chaos as he did miracles. Unusual fact, in some Icelandic poems, Loki is referred to as the mother of monsters, because he once shapeshifted into a mare, got pregnant, and gave birth to Odin's 8-legged horse, which raises more questions than answers. I'm not here, the voice purrs. Not really. But masks, remember, and this one's mine. You try to speak, but your tongue feels sluggish. The mask laughs softly. You're wondering if this is a trap, it says. Spoiler alert, it usually is. The torchlight sputters as the air shifts. Around you, more masks appear hovering in the dark like pale moons. All of them versions of Loki, young, old, burning, weeping, laughing with no mouth. One glides toward you, and though it doesn't have eyes, it somehow stares. Tell me, Loki says, do you want the truth, or a better story? You blink. Are those different? Oh, my sweet sleep-deprived friend, the voice says, almost fondly. You have so much to learn. The mask flattens itself into the air, becomes mist, then reforms as a mirror. You stare into it, expecting your reflection, but you see Loki instead. He's seated on a throne made of tangled roots and snake skeletons. His expression is unreadable. He lifts a cup, drinks deeply, and smiles. Then he raises a hand, points directly at you. You're not supposed to be here, he says. You feel something tug behind your navel, a jolt, like static through memory, and the mirror shatters soundlessly, scattering across the floor like frozen words. You breathe. Again, not well, but you're trying. Scholars still debate Loki's true role, villain, hero, or cosmic necessity. Some argue he is chaos incarnate, others a scapegoat inserted retroactively to explain divine failure. Either way, you now know this. Loki doesn't just exist in stories. He lurks in them. The corridor widens, becoming a narrow canyon flanked by runes carved so deep they look like wounds. Ahead, a set of stairs descend into faint blue mist. At the base, another mask, simpler, this time birchwood, with a line drawn straight down the center. It doesn't speak, but you feel it watching. You move on. The tunnel hums around you now, like a great beast clearing its throat. Your pace quickens. Not because you're afraid, not exactly, but you get the distinct sense that something has noticed you noticing it. There's movement in the mist. Ahead, footsteps, a whisper, then a figure tall, wrapped in pale fabric that floats despite the lack of wind. No face, just a smooth silver mask, like a full moon. They raise a hand, and you hear Loki again. You're on a path now, one I can't follow, but I will be watching. The figure turns. You follow. Because what else can you do? The mist clings to your ankles like it's trying to keep you here, soft and damp and oddly warm. You follow the figure's silver mask, floating fabric. No footsteps through a corridor that coils downward, spiraling into silence. The only sound is your own breath and the distant, steady rhythm of something very large and very old breathing. You catch up just as the mist begins to thin, revealing a wide cavern ringed with pale stone columns. At the center lies a circle of runes carved into ash-black rock. Standing in the middle is someone new, a woman in fractured armor, one wing bent and footless. Her spear rests against her shoulder, the blade rusted from disuse. Her helmet hangs loosely in one hand, and though her back is to you, you sense something coiled tightly beneath her stillness. Regret, rage, Or maybe both. She speaks without turning. You're late. Your answer catches in your throat. I didn't know I was expected. She finally looks over her shoulder. Her face is sharp, more shadow than skin. One eye gleams like ice. The other is missing. You're always expected, she says. The question is, which you arrived. A widely accepted historical fact, Valkyries were Odin's choosers of the slain, descending onto battlefields to carry warriors to Valhalla. But their roles weren't limited to war. They were weavers of fate, servants of prophecy, and sometimes rebels. Unusual fact, in some lesser-known poems, a Valkyrie named Gindul refused Odin's command and saved a mortal she loved. As punishment, she was stripped of her wings and condemned to wander Midgard. This must be her. You step into the rune circle. She doesn't flinch. You want something, she says. All mortals do when they come this far. I want to understand, you reply. She laughs once, dry, cracked. Then you're already in trouble. A rusted sword rests beside her, a relic from a war no one won. Her hand brushes the hilt, like she can't decide whether to remember or forget. Do you know what it means to defy a god? She asks. I'm starting to get an idea. She nods. I chose wrong, she says softly. I saw a soul worth saving and pulled him from the battlefield. Odin was, not amused. She kneels and traces a rune in the Asgard, the rune of disruption and wrath. Now I wait, she says, for my punishment to end, or for someone foolish enough to take it from me. A pause. You realize she's not just telling you this, she's offering you a choice. Will you carry my burden? She asks. You hesitate, then nod. She places something cold and heavy in your hands. Not the sword, her helm. Its interior is lined with threads of fate, woven into impossible knots. You feel them tighten slightly as you hold it. Scholars still debate whether Valkyries were literal divine beings, or poetic stand-ins for the chaos of war and the arbiters of destiny. Standing here, you suspect the answer is yes. She straightens, stepping outside the rune circle. Then go, she says. You've stolen my fate now, and it will not sit quietly. You try to speak, but the mist returns, thick and unrelenting. The helm pulses in your hands like a second heartbeat. When the fog clears, you're alone again, only you're not. A feather falls from above, black and burning at the edges. You look. Up, a raven is watching from a twisted archway of stone, its eyes more human than bird. It croaks once and flies off into the next passage. And because this place is strange, and you're a little bit reckless now, you follow. The corridor narrows again, the walls lined with feathers that shimmer like oil in moonlight. You reach out and brush one, expecting softness. Instead, its sharp, almost metallic hand leaves a thin red line on your finger. A reminder, not everything that glows is gentle. The raven circles above, guiding you toward a clearing that shouldn't exist underground. Stone gives way to open sky, possibly vast stars swirling in spiral constellations you've never seen. A long bridge stretches across the void, made not of stone, but of roots, bones, and braided hair. At its center stands a man cloaked in midnight blue, one eye closed forever. His spear is planted beside him, its tip faintly glowing with runes. He does not speak, but you know who he is, Odin, or what's left of him. A widely accepted historical fact. Odin is the Allfather, chief of the Aesir, god of wisdom, war, and poetry. He gave up an eye for knowledge, and hung from Yggdrasil for 9 nights to discover the runes. Sacrifice is sort of his thing. He watches you not with his eye, but with presence. You feel him inside your thoughts, rummaging gently, like a librarian looking for a misfiled prophecy. You wear her helm, he says finally. You nod, holding Valkyrie fate in your hands. She was loyal until she wasn't, he mutters. That's how it always ends. You clear your throat. Why am I here? You followed a raven. That feels too easy. He smirks. Sometimes the simple path is the one most people avoid, and sometimes the raven chooses for you. The bridge sways beneath you, though there's no wind. Odin taps the spear against the wood. The sound vibrates in your ribs. Tell me, traveler, he says, what do you fear most? Your past, your future, or your reflection? You open your mouth, but he stops you with a raised hand. Don't answer, he says. Fear is a story, best heard from your own voice. Unusual fact, Odin's name shares a root with or, meaning frenzy or ecstatic inspirations, suggesting his divinity is less about logic and more about uncontrollable, transcendent experience. He steps aside, revealing a circular pool at the center of the bridge. Its surface is silver and still, except for the faint ripple of breath. You peer into it. At first, it's nothing. Then, you, as a child, holding a carved figure that shouldn't exist. A battlefield where you don't remember fighting, but your hands are bloody. A library burned down to ash, but one book remains untouched and it's calling your name. You step back. Odin doesn't move. Memory, he says. It's not a timeline. It's a map drawn by smoke. Scholars still debate whether Odin's quests for knowledge were altruistic or power-hungry. Some texts depict him as a noble seeker, others as a manipulator, always willing to sacrifice others before himself. You watch as Odin traces a rune in the air, urus for strength and endurance. The shape lingers, glowing softly, then dissolves. I am not your guide, he says. I am your gate. The pool shimmers once more. You feel the pull. Jump, he says. Or don't. But either way, the next part begins. You don't have time to consider the implications. You fall forward, not because you chose to, but because fate sometimes shoves. The sensation isn't like falling, it's like being unwritten. When you land, the helm is gone, and so is the sky. The ground beneath you is soft, too soft, like peat soaked in secrets. You push yourself up, hands sinking slightly into moss that glows faintly with its own breath. Around you, thick trees rise like cathedral columns, their bark dark as dried blood and etched with spiral runes that shift when you look directly at them. No more sky, just green mist and ancient silence. A whisper slithers through the leaves. You don't belong here. Then another, but neither did they. You turn, but there's no one, until suddenly, there is. A woman steps forward, tall, crowned with antlers, her face painted with charcoal and starlight. She carries a staff made of birch, twisted around, a serpent's rib. Her voice is low, patient, the kind that waits years before asking again. You carry a weight, not yours. You try to explain about the Valkyrie helm, about Odin, about Loki's mask, but she silences you with a look. I am Angrboda, she says. The name hits like thunder muffled in fog. Widely accepted historical fact. Angrboda is the mother of monsters, Loki's consort, and bearer of his infamous children. Fenrir, the wolf, Jarmungandr, the serpent, and Hel, ruler of the dead. She lived in the Ironwood, exiled by gods who feared her womb more than any sword. Unusual fact. Some scholars believe Angrboda is not one person, but a title, the one who brings grief passed down through generations of giant-blooded witches. You watch her stir the moss with her staff. They say the gods write history, but the mothers, ... We write endings. A shape slinks into view behind her massive, low to the ground. Yellow eyes blink in the gloom. Fenrir. He single quotes S. ... Young. Not yet. The world-ending beast of prophecy. More wolf than terror, but still the size of a horse. He watches you with too much intelligence. Don't run, Angrboda warns. He dislikes predictable stories. You stay still. The wolf sniffs the air, snorts, then pads over and sits beside you with the dramatic sigh of someone accustomed to misunderstanding. You're the traveler, Angrboda says. The one Loki marked. I didn't ask for that. No one asks to be chosen, she replies. But once marked, you're a thread in the tapestry. Pull one, and the rest feel it. She leans closer. So, which thread do you plan to tear? You don't know. You want to know? And that may be worse. She touches your forehead with a finger. Suddenly, your skin is a map. You see glowing lines run from your fingertips to the horizon, interwoven with threads that shine red, gold, silver, and something, black. One thread pulses, tugs. That one leads to your next answer, she says, and perhaps your first cost. You breathe in. The moss smells like rain, blood, and burned oak. She lifts her staff and draws a rune in the air. Nothus, the rune of need and constraint. This world is built on necessity, she says, but that doesn't mean it's fair. Scholars still debate whether Angrboda was villain or victim, goddess or giant, midwife or destroyer. What is clear? She was never powerless. Fenrir stands. His gaze now feels almost sympathetic. You'll meet my daughter soon, Angrboda says. Treat her with respect. She keeps more than just the dead. The forest begins to hum, the sound of roots whispering to stone. A path opens between the trees. You take it, because every god you've met so far has been terrifying. But the mothers are something else entirely. You don't walk down the path, it's more like the path moves beneath you. Trees bend away, not from fear, but reverence. Their branches knotted and blackened by time, lift to reveal a new sky, one, dim and gray, like dusk and morning. The air grows cold, not just chilly, but bone quiet, as if even your heartbeat knows to whisper. Ahead lies a gate. It isn't built, it grew into being. Twisted roots form an arch, and behind it, a vast plain of ash. No grass, no birdsong, just silence. You step through. The temperature drops 3 degrees instantly. A figure stands in the distance, perfectly still. As you get closer, you realize she's not waiting, she's guarding. A girl, perhaps 16, but with eyes like sentries. Her skin is pale as moonlight over frost. Half her face beautiful and alive, the other half hollowed and bruised, like decay frozen in place. Her cloak is stitched from funeral shrouds. On her belt, a ring of Kizich, one older than sin. She doesn't speak. She doesn't have to. Daughter of Loki, ruler of the realm of the dead, goddess of those who died not in battle, but in beds, in sickness, in accidents, and obscurity. The unchosen, the rest of us, widely accepted historical fact. In Norse belief, those who died outside of glory went to Hell's realm, not to be punished, but simply to be place of stillness, not fire. Her hall, Eljanir, was cold, not cruel, unusual. Fact. Some fragments suggest Hell once ruled more than just the dead, perhaps, even fate itself. That she kept the ledger of endings the Norns didn't want to touch. You feel her eyes on you. Both halves of her gaze see the same truth. You don't belong here. Yet, she raises her hand and draws a shape in the air. Isa, the rune of ice and stillness. The ground responds. From the ash rises a table. Not stone, not wood. Something older. Carved into it are names. Yours is not yet among them. She gestures. Sit. You do. And she begins to speak, not with sound, but memory. You see flashes. A child crying beside a grave. A woman leaving food in the snow, praying to be remembered. An old man whispering an apology to the dark before closing his eyes. These are her people, you realize. Hell doesn't rule with fear. She rules with memory, with weight, with the unbearable gentleness of endings. She holds out one of her keys. You hesitate. I'm not dead, you manage to say. She tilts her head, amused. Yet, she places the key in your palm anyway. It burns cold. Scholars still debate whether hell was ever intended to be feared. Some argue she was a late addition to Norse myth, a Christianized symbol of hellish judgment. Others insist she was always essential, a necessary counterbalance to Odin's obsession with glory. Hell rises, she walks away, not as dismissal, as invitation. You follow her into a structure that wasn't there before, a great low hall, built from silence. The walls hum with breathless songs. At its center is a mirror tall, black as obsidian, rimmed with bones. Your reflection doesn't look like you. It looks like all your possible ends. She turns to you and whispers not with voice, but wind. Choose. The mirror ripples. You reach out and everything goes dark. You awaken not with a start, but with a slow exhale, as if your lungs needed time to decide if breathing was still required. The darkness is warm this time. Not hell's frozen hush, but something older, primordial. There's a fire flickering nearby. You don't see it, but the shadows it casts dance across your skin like stories trying to be told. You sit up. You're no longer in hell's realm. You're in a cave carved from the ribs of the earth. Walls smooth as melted bone, etched with ancient symbols, some Norse, others, stranger, older than runes. Symbols that predate alphabet and intention. A whisper brushes your ear, not in words. In hunger, you are not alone. From the shadows slithers something long and low. You expect it to hiss. Instead, it speaks in a voice that echoes off your ribs. You carry the key. Your fingers clench involuntarily. The metal is still cold. A massive head emerges, scaled, horned, and shining like oil. Its eyes are endless spirals of blue and green. Jormungandr, the Midgard serpent, world wrap, the one who will bite its own tail and end the gods. Widely accepted historical fact. Jormungandr was thrown into the ocean by Odin, where it grew until it encircled the entire world. At Ragnarok, it is fated to rise and battle Thor, and both are prophesied to die. Unusual fact. Some fragments hint the serpent was never a villain, that it was not born to destroy but to contain, to wrap the world and hold it in balance. It coils around you now, but not to crush, to shield. You carry hell's key, it says. You have seen endings. You nod, but do you understand beginnings? The cave trembles, not with threat, but with memory. Jormungandr draws a circle in the ash with its tail, then spits a single drop of venom into its center. The drop glows, a vision flashes, a field before time, a crackling fire, 3 figures, one-eyed, serpent-tongued, and silent-faced, carving runes into a skull. Yggdrasil grows from it. Then, a scream, a blade. The world begins. You gasp. The serpent watches. Its forked tongue flicks the air near your face. Beginnings are violent, it says. Endings are quiet. In between, we are all just coiling. You shiver. Why am I here? It considers, because you've walked too far for your own truth, and not far enough for anyone else's. You don't know what that means, but it feels true. It draws another rune in the air, Athela, inheritance and ancestral memory. You think you're writing your own story, it says, but you're only revealing what was buried. Scholars still debate whether was an embodiment of chaos, or of the cycle de Ouroboros, the snake that eats its tail to complete the loop. To some, it's doom. To others, rebirth. The serpent lowers its head to your level. You may leave, it says, but the circle remains. As you step away, the cave begins to collapse, not in panic, but in rhythm. The way a heartbeat slows. After purpose, you emerge into a fog-swept cliff. Beneath you, the sea, endless, familiar. The serpent's final words hiss in the wind. Not everything that loops is a prison. Some circles are homes. You don't know where you are now, but the key is still in your hand, and a new shadow waits ahead. You follow the cliff's edge, the sea's salty breath tugging at your clothes, the fog swallowing the world behind you. The air is thick with anticipation, as if the ocean itself is holding its breath, waiting for something or someone. The sun, a pale disk, barely penetrates the mist, casting everything in a dim, silver light that makes shadows dance just out of sight. Suddenly, you hear a sound, a soft, melodic humming, like the gentle ripple of waves caressing stone. The voice is neither male nor female, young nor old. It's the sound of the sea itself, ancient and endless. You step toward the source and find a figure seated on a jagged rock, half submerged in the tide. Her hair flows like seaweed, dark and shimmering, and her eyes hold the depth of the abyss. This is no ordinary woman. This is Anne, the Norse sea goddess, who commands the waves and claims the drowned. Widely accepted historical fact, Anne was known to catch sailors with her net and pull them beneath the waves, symbolizing the ever-present danger of the sea to Viking life. Unusual fact. Some myths portray Ran not only as a fearsome captor, but also as a protector of those who respect the ocean's power, rewarding sailors who honored her with safe passage. She looks at you, her gaze penetrating, as if weighing your soul against the tides. "You carry the key," she says, her voice a ripple over a storm. You nod, feeling the cold metal press against your palm. "The ocean remembers," she continues. "It keeps all the stories that the land has forgotten." She extends her hand, and you notice a net woven from threads of silver and shadow. "Will you help me weave the next tale?" You hesitate, unsure what this task entails. "Every soul I claim," she explains, "becomes part of the sea's song, but there are stories that must never be sung." She pulls a small waterlogged book from beneath her cloak and hands it to you. Its pages are blank, but as you hold it, words begin to appear, stories of gods and mortals, heroes and monsters, love and betrayal. Scholars still debate whether Ran's role is purely malevolent or if she embodies the complex relationship between humans and the sea, both nurturing and destructive. She smiles, a wave crashing against the rocks. "Will you write their stories, or let them sink into silence?" You open the book, feeling the weight of countless untold tales pressing upon you. As the fog thickens, you realize this is not just a story, it's your choice, and the sea is watching. The mist swirls thicker now, curling around your ankles like fingers eager to pull you under. You clutch the waterlogged book tighter, its pages cool against your skin, a fragile vessel of countless forgotten tales and half-remembered truths. The ocean's song lingers in your ears, a haunting melody that promises both salvation and oblivion, and Anne's gaze remains fixed on you, expectant, yet patient, as if she knows this moment will define more than just your path. It will ripple across worlds. You step away from the jagged rocks and into a narrow inlet, where the water is calm, reflecting the dim sky like a mirror fractured by time. The scent of salt and ancient secrets fills your lungs. Around you, the whisper of waves against stone is punctuated by distant, eerie laughter, part joy, part sorrow. Suddenly the air shifts. A figure rises from the waters, a man clad in seaweed and pearls, his hair tangled with shells, eyes shimmering with the fury and depth of the stormy sea. This is Yggdrasil, Rai's husband and the lord of the ocean's mysteries. Widely accepted historical fact. Yggdrasil was both feared and revered by Norse sailors, often hosting lavish feasts for the gods beneath the waves, symbolizing the sea's dual nature of danger and generosity. Unusual fact. Some accounts suggest Yggdrasil's realm was not just underwater, but existed in a parallel dimension where time flowed differently, blurring the lines between past, present, and future. JR steps closer, his voice booming yet oddly warm. "You have seen endings and beginnings," he says, "but the sea holds more than stories. It holds power, the power to change fate itself." He gestures to the book in your hands. This is no ordinary tome. It is the WHİSPERS rewritten, a chronicle of what was and what might yet be, but it is incomplete. You flip through the pages, noticing gaps, blank spaces, waiting to be filled with new tales. new destinies. Gyr's eyes narrow. To write is to wield a sword sharper than any blade. Every word you inscribe shapes the tides of existence. You feel the weight of his words press on your shoulders. Will you shape the future, or be shaped by it? Before you can answer, the water around Jgir begins to glow, illuminating ancient runes etched into the stones beneath your feet. The ground trembles gently, like a heartbeat syncing with your own. Scholars still debate whether Gyr's feasts were purely myth, or symbolized sacred rites that connected gods and mortals through shared stories and communion. Gyr smiles, a glint of mischief and challenge in his eyes. The ocean is vast, traveler, so is the story you carry. The inlet's waters rise slowly, encircling you like a cradle, lifting you towards the horizon where sky and sea blur into one. You realize, this journey is far from over. But for now, the sea whispers your name, and you answer. The rising tide carries you beyond the inlet, where sky and sea meld into a seamless horizon painted with the softest hues of twilight. You float, neither sinking nor soaring, suspended between worlds, the water cradling you as if you are both, fragile and eternal. Around you, the air hums with unseen voices, whispers of ancient power, woven from the breath of gods and the memories of mortals. You close your eyes and listen, feeling the pulse of the 9 realms thrum beneath the waves. A sudden shimmer disturbs the calm. A figure emerges from the depths, a radiant woman, cloaked in shimmering scales that flicker like liquid silver. Her hair cascades like a waterfall, and her eyes glow with wisdom and sorrow. This is Níðhöggr, the dragon who gnaws at the roots of Yggdrasil, the world tree. But here, she is not the destroyer. She is a guardian of secrets, a keeper of balance between life and decay. Widely accepted historical fact, Níðhöggr is known for devouring the corpses of the dead and the roots of Yggdrasil, symbolizing decay and the inevitable cycle of life and death. Unusual fact. Some rare sagas depict Níðhöggr as a figure of mercy, one who recycles life's remnants to nourish the world anew, embodying regeneration as much as destruction. She approaches, her voice a low rumble beneath the waves. You carry stories of endings and beginnings, she says, but do you understand the spaces between? The silence where life and death entwine? You shake your head, the question lingering like a shadow. She extends a clawed hand, and the water around you glows with ethereal light. Come, witness the roots, she invites. You descend with her, passing through layers of mist and memory, until you reach the immense, tangled roots of Yggdrasil, dripping with sap that gleams like liquid starlight. The roots pulse with energy both vibrant and fading. You see spirits entwined within them, souls suspended between worlds, waiting for their turn. In the great cycle Níðhöggr, gaze softens. Scholars still debate the nature of the world tree, whether it is a symbol of life's eternal renewal or a cosmic prison. You feel the weight of her words as the sap trickles onto your skull, alive and strangely comforting. She leans close, whispering, in this balance lies your path. To hold endings without fear, beginnings without greed, and the quiet spaces in between with grace. You nod, understanding, settling like a calm tide dot as you rise back to the surface. The dragon's form dissolves into mist, leaving you with a new clarity. The journey is not about choosing sides, but embracing the intertwined dance of creation and decay. The sea around you glistens, alive with possibility, and you are ready to dive deeper. You leave the shimmering sea behind as the world shifts beneath your feet. Now, the scent of pine and cold earth surrounds you, and a hush falls over the towering forest, thick, ancient, and whispering secrets. The trees here are older than kingdoms, their bark etched with scars of battles, long past and silent prayers of those seeking refuge. You follow a narrow path where sunlight filters in fragile beams, dancing over moss and fallen leaves. The air is crisp, but there is warmth in the quiet, a deep-rooted calm that seeps into your bones. Somewhere nearby, a brook babbles softly, its voice steady and reassuring. Then, a rustle. Branches crack. Before you stands a figure wrapped in shadows, his hair tangled with leaves and twigs, eyes bright with cunning and mirth. This is Loki, the trickster god, both revered and reviled, forever balancing chaos and order. Widely accepted historical fact, Loki is known for his shape-shifting abilities, and his role in both aiding and opposing the gods, often causing mischief that leads to both trouble and unexpected solutions. Unusual fact, some obscure texts suggest Loki's lineage may connect to ancient giants, making his allegiance complex and his nature even more enigmatic. He grins, a flash of white teeth, eyes gleaming with mischief. You carry stories like a heavy cloak, he says, but have you ever worn one woven from lies and truth alike? You sense his challenge, but also his curiosity. Loki steps closer, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. The gods have secrets, dear traveler, hidden not in the halls of Asgard, but in the cracks where light barely reaches. He reaches out, fingers brushing your arm, and suddenly, you're pulled into a memory not your own, but one you feel viscerally. A feast in Valhalla, laughter masking tension, a whispered betrayal, a binding oath that shakes the foundations of divine order. Scholars still debate Loki's motivations. Was he a malevolent force of chaos, a necessary agent of change, or something far more nuanced? You shake off the memory as Loki laughs softly. Stories aren't just told, he says, they're lived. And sometimes, they're the trickiest trick of all. He steps back into the shadows, leaving you alone with the rustling forest and the weight of tangled truths. The path ahead remains uncertain, but your resolve deepens, for in every whisper, every shadow, lies the pulse of the gods, and you, their chosen listener. The forest thins, revealing a valley bathed in twilight. Here, the air hums with the quiet power of ancient rites and forgotten gods. Moss carpets the ground like emerald velvet, and wildflowers nod gently in a breeze you cannot feel. The distant silhouette of a mountain stands watch, its peak piercing the fading light. You tread softly, senses alert. A solemn stillness presses around you, as if the very earth is holding its breath. This is a place of transition, a crossroads between worlds, where the mortal and divine brush fingertips. Ahead, a figure kneels beside a stone altar carved from granite, veined with silver. She's clad in robes woven from spider silk and moonlight, her hair a cascade of raven feathers. Her eyes glow with fierce intelligence and quiet sorrow. This is Freya, goddess of love, war, and magic, keeper of the Valkyries, and mistress of the afterlife's hidden pathways. Widely accepted historical fact, Freya was revered for her dual nature, as both a nurturing deity of fertility and a fierce warrior who guided fallen heroes to her hall. Folkvanger. Unusual fact. Some sagas hint that Freya's cloak of falcon feathers was not just a symbol of power, but a literal garment that allowed her to traverse realms, blurring boundaries between life and death. She looks up, meeting your gaze with unwavering intensity. You carry the weight of endings, she says softly, but have you embraced the power of transformation? Her hand brushes the altar, releasing a shimmer of golden light that dances like fireflies. The gods do not fear change. They are change. She beckons you closer. To understand the legends beyond Valhalla, you must walk the paths of those who choose their fate, the fallen, the lost, and the reborn. You feel a surge of warmth as memories flood your mind. Battles fought with honor, loves lost beneath starlit skies, the whispered prayers of souls seeking redemption. Scholars still debate the extent of Freya's influence in Norse cosmology, questioning whether she was an independent deity or an aspect of other goddesses. Like Frigg, Freya's gaze softens. Your journey is a weaving of stories, threads of life, death, and rebirth. To carry them is to carry hope. The twilight deepens, and you sense the veil between worlds thinning. With a final nod, Freya fades into the shadows, leaving you alone at the crossroads, heart pounding with newfound purpose. You are no longer just a listener. You are a keeper of the legends, and the night stretches endlessly before you. The night deepens, stars twinkling like distant campfires scattered across the velvet sky. You walk through a clearing where the air tastes of cold smoke and ancient pine. The ground beneath your feet feels alive, humming with the footsteps of those who came before you. Echoes of forgotten rituals whispered on the wind. Before you stands a grand hall, its walls etched with runes that glow faintly in the moonlight. This is Valhalla, the legendary hall of slain warriors, where the bravest of heroes feast and prepare for Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods. But beyond the roaring fires and clashing swords lies a deeper story, one rarely told. You step inside, senses overwhelmed by the scent of mead and ash, the thundering laughter of warriors, and the silent sorrow hidden beneath their bravado. Here, you meet a Valkyrie clad in armor that shimmers like frost, eyes sharp and knowing. She watches you with a mixture of curiosity and solemn respect. Widely accepted historical fact, Valkyries were divine shield maidens, who chose which warriors would die in battle and which would be brought to Valhalla. Unusual fact, some tales suggest Valkyries could also serve as messengers between gods and mortals, guiding lost souls beyond the battlefield. She speaks, voice like the clash of steel and the whisper of silk. Not all who enter Valhalla find glory. Some seek redemption, others revenge, and some, like you, seek the truth beneath the tales. She gestures toward a tapestry woven with golden threads, depicting gods and men intertwined in fate's relentless weave. Stories are weapons and shields. They carry power beyond the battlefield. Will you wield them wisely? You nod, feeling the weight of her gaze. Scholars still debate the Valkyries' role as mere agents of fate versus autonomous figures capable of defying the gods themselves. The hall's fires flicker, casting long shadows as the Valkyrie steps back, her figure blending with the night. You realize that beyond the heroics and the battles, there lies a profound truth. Every legend is a fragment of a greater whole, and you are here to assemble the pieces. The forest fades into a gentle twilight as you find yourself standing at the edge of a vast plain where the echoes of ancient songs linger in the breeze. The sky is painted with soft hues of pink and purple, a delicate farewell to the day. Here, the world seems to pause, as if holding its breath before the next great story unfolds. You walk slowly, the grass brushing against your legs, each step a rhythm in the symphony of the gods' whispers. Ahead, a figure sits beneath a lone, sprawling tree old as time itself, its branches heavy with memories. This is Mimir, the wise guardian of the well of knowledge, whose sacrifice granted him eternal insight. His one eye gleams with the depth of countless secrets, and his voice is a soothing balm, carrying the weight of wisdom tempered by patience. Widely accepted historical fact, Mimir is famed in Norse mythology as a symbol of wisdom and knowledge, sacrificed by the gods in exchange for understanding. Unusual fact, some obscure texts suggest Mimir's, while contains not just knowledge, but the essence of memory itself, linking the past, present, and future in an endless flow. He beckons you closer, and as you sit, the world around you softens. Sounds fading into a tranquil hush. Stories you carry are not just tales, he murmurs, but living threads in the fabric of existence. Each word shapes what was, what is, and what may yet be. He leans forward, eyes gleaming with quiet urgency. Scholars still debate the true nature of fate. In Norse belief, is it fixed, or ever-changing, shaped by gods and mortals alike? You ponder this as the twilight deepens, shadows lengthening, like a protective embrace. Mimir smiles gently. Now, you rest. Let the echoes of the gods lull you into peace. For the journey continues beyond waking dreams. Your eyelids grow heavy as the whispering winds carry you toward quietude. The last traces of light fade, replaced by a soft glow that envelops you like a comforting cloak, and as your breath slows, the stories of gods and mortals weave together in eternal dance in the silent night. Now, as the night gently unfolds around you, feel the weight of the day slip away. Let each breath you take be slower, softer, like the rhythm of a distant drum echoing in the vastness of time. The whispers of ancient forests, the lapping of eternal seas, the silent glow of stars all join together to cradle you in their timeless embrace. Imagine the warmth of Mimir's wisdom wrapping around you, a gentle light guiding you through the quiet spaces between stories. There is no rush here, no need to seek answers immediately, only the peaceful acceptance of being part of something greater, a vast tapestry woven by countless voices and ages. Let your mind drift, carried on the currents of gentle waves and the rustling of leaves. Feel your body soften, your muscles release, as the night breathes with you. With each exhale, sink deeper into tranquility, letting the serene echoes of this journey linger softly in your soul. Sleep now comes not as an end, but as a gateway, a sacred passage into realms where gods whisper secrets only dreams can reveal. And, as you rest, know that the stories will be waiting, ready to unfold anew whenever you awaken.